Those words are no longer ancient, they are assignment. The spirit that rested on prophets now rests on you. The gaze that marked Isaiah for mission has also marked you for impact. You are heaven's answer in human form, a bearer of freedom to those still trapped in shadows. From this day forward, the way you see, speak, and serve will change. You are not just called, you are commissioned. Every place you step is sacred, for the mark walks with you. You, his chosen one, have reminded the heavens what joy sounds like when it's pure and human. You see, there is a joy that only the chosen carry. It's the joy that walks hand in hand with tears. It's laughter born out of ashes, not ignorance of pain. You have lived through what could have made you bitter, yet you remain soft. You could have built walls, but instead, you built altars. You could have chosen silence, but you chose song. That is what made God smile. You chose light again. The world may not understand this kind of laughter. It is not the laughter of those who mock or boast. It is the laughter of resurrection. Every time you rise from something meant to bury you, heaven laughs. Not a laughter of amusement, but of victory. Because darkness bet on your destruction, and it lost again. As the ancient writings of Zephaniah declare in the Holy Scrolls, chapter 3, verse 17, "The Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. He rejoices over you, singing." Do you feel that? Chosen one, the sound of divine laughter mingled with song, the Father rejoicing over you. Not merely because of what you've done, but because of who you are, his reflection clothed in human frailty. When you laugh, he hears himself echoing back. You were never meant to live life as though heaven is watching from afar. No, heaven participates. Heaven dances when you dance, weeps when you weep, and laughs when you remember that your story isn't over yet. God's laughter is not detached, it's intimate. It's the kind that leans in, the kind that says, "I see you trying, and I love the effort. Even your mistakes, your missteps, your stumbles, he turns them into music. When you tried to fix something and made it worse, and then laughed at yourself, instead of quitting, that laughter became worship. When you forgot a verse, but kept singing anyway, the angels joined you in harmony. When you faced rejection, but smiled through it, God whispered, "There's my child." And so many people chase approval from the world, likes, applause, validation, but the highest approval you can ever receive is the divine laughter that says, "You delighted me." It's the sound that makes all creation lean in wonder, because joy born from pain is the rarest song in the universe. Beloved, the enemy has always tried to steal laughter from the chosen. That's why despair feels so heavy. It is an attempt to silence heaven's echo in your soul. But your laughter, even when it trembles, is rebellion against the darkness. When you choose joy in a valley, you proclaim that hell has failed again. When you smile while still waiting, you're saying, "My faith is not for sale." That kind of laughter shakes the gates of hell. Remember, your laughter is not a mask, it's a weapon. It's proof that what tried to kill your spirit could not succeed. So laugh again. Laugh. Not because everything is easy, but because you are still chosen. Laugh because grace has not run out. Laugh because God delights in your persistence. And as you hear these words, let your heart whisper, "Yes, I receive this. You made God laugh today. Let that truth heal something inside you. You don't have to strive for it. You simply have to stay real, unpolished, honest, human. That's all heaven ever needed from you. Before you move on, take a breath. Imagine God smiling at you now, eyes full of light, voice warm with joy. That's not imagination, that's revelation. Heaven's smile is your confirmation that you are not forgotten. Now, chosen one, if this message touched you, if something deep within you felt seen, let heaven see your response. Like this message, share it with someone who needs to remember they can make God smile too. And subscribe to stay connected with the flow of divine encouragement that keeps your faith alive. Then, as a prophetic act of agreement, comment the number 777 below, a symbol of divine perfection and completion. Let it be your declaration, I bring joy to heaven. No, chosen one. Have you ever thought about how divine laughter sounds? It's not the laughter of mockery or distance, it's the laughter of love, of understanding so deep that even your clumsiest moments bring joy to the heart of God. Heaven is not sterile or solemn all the time. It's alive with humor, music, and affection. You were never made to live without laughter, because laughter itself is holy. It's proof that you carry the image of the Creator who rejoices. The world has often tried to make God seem cold and untouchable, as though he sits on his throne, detached from our human mess. But that is not who he is. He is the God who invented joy, who painted sunsets that make you gasp, who shaped laughter as medicine for the soul. When you laugh, you echo the rhythm of heaven. When you find humor in the middle of hardship, you mirror the resilience of eternity. The divine sense of humor is not about silliness, it is about grace. It is the ability to smile at your imperfection without shame. You've tripped. You've fallen. You've said the wrong thing at the wrong time. And yet God doesn't shake his head in disappointment. He smiles. He sees the sincerity behind your stumble. He knows your intent before your words even form. You make him laugh not because of perfection, but because of authenticity. You bring joy to his heart because you keep trying. And that effort is sacred. There are times when heaven looks down and sees you overthinking every move, trying to be good enough for God, as if you could earn his favor with flawless performance. Yet what makes him delight in you is not your performance but your presence. When you show up before him honestly broken, joyful, awkward, sincere, he delights. That's the divine humor of grace, that the perfect God finds pleasure in imperfect humans who simply dare to love him back. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 17, verse 22, a cheerful heart is good medicine. Butter crushed, spirit drie, up the bones. The words are simple, yet they hold divine mystery. Joy heals. Laughter restores. You felt it, haven't you? The moment you finally laugh after crying for days, the air feels lighter. Your chest opens, and suddenly the pain doesn't have the same grip. That's not coincidence. That's creation, aligning with its maker's design. God built your soul to heal through joy. Un engelsmaavloid. They see you walking through the valley with tears still drying on your face. And then suddenly, a spark of laughter escapes your lips. They see it as defiance, as holy rebellion. Because laughter in the dark declares, I still believe light is coming. You become a living testimony that no amount of darkness can silence the joy written into your spirit. Sometimes, when you're alone, you talk to God out loud and then realize what you said sounds ridiculous and you laugh. Heaven joins you in that laughter because love understands. God is not offended by your humanity. He is amused by your courage to keep showing up as you are. He delights in the fact that you can talk to him like a friend, not a stranger. That's the secret of the divine sense of humor. It turns mistakes into memories and shame into stories of grace. The same thing you thought would disqualify you becomes the very thing that makes your relationship with God so intimate. Because you are not acting. You are real. You are raw. You are His. Think back to those moments when everything went wrong, and yet something in you couldn't help but smile. That wasn't denial. It was resurrection, stirring. It was joy whispering that you're still alive, still chosen, still in the story. Your laughter became prophecy. It declared, "This is not the end." End of 6. So do not suppress your joy to appear serious about faith. God never asked you to dim your laughter. He asked you to carry His light, and laughter is one of its purest forms. Every time you find humor in your struggle, you testify that God's goodness outweighs the chaos. Every smile you share becomes a seed of healing in the atmosphere. Heaven rejoices, not just when you pray, but when you laugh, because your laughter says you trust Him. It says you know He's still in control. Even when the path is unclear, the divine sense of humor reminds you that God's plan is not fragile. It can handle your mistakes, your confusion, your humanity. Chosen one. There was a moment, you remember it, when everything inside you whispered, "I failed." You thought God turned away, that heaven fell silent. You replayed your mistakes over and over until even your prayers felt like noise. You thought it was the end of favor, the loss of calling. But do you know what actually happened in that moment? Heaven didn't frown, it smiled. God didn't sigh, He laughed. Not because He mocked you, but because He saw something you couldn't, your heart still beating with faith beneath the rubble of disappointment. You see, to the human eye, failure looks final, but to God, it's a seed. He sees your fall not as defeat, but as the setup for deeper dependence. When you stumbled, He saw the raw beauty of someone still reaching for Him through the dust. Heaven laughed, not at your mistake, but at the devil's premature celebration. Because even when you tripped, grace didn't let go. The laughter of God rolled through eternity, declaring, "My child still believes." And you cried, thinking your voice didn't reach heaven. But while you wept, He was already weaving purpose through the cracks. He saw your heart trying, and that sincerity brought joy to His throne. The angels watched, amazed that even broken, you still whispered His name. That kind of faith makes heaven rejoice louder than any perfect performance ever could. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 30, verse 5. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Oh, you didn't fail, you transitioned. You didn't fall, you were planted. Every tear you shed was not wasted. It watered the soil of your next season. When you hit the ground, heaven didn't mark your failure, it marked your resurrection point. Morning is coming, and with it comes laughter. The enemy wanted to drown you in shame, to make you believe that failure disqualified you. But failure has never been your finish line. It's always been your meeting point with grace. The laughter of heaven is proof that you are still in divine alignment, even when your plans collapse. Remember Peter, the one who denied Jesus 3 times. The world would have labeled him unworthy, but God saw beyond the denial. He saw a preacher in the making. When Peter wept bitterly, heaven wasn't disgusted. It waited patiently for the morning when joy would rise again. The same is true for you. You are not defined by your darkest night. You are defined by the dawn that follows. And what a powerful dawn it will be, because the same God who laughs over you also restores you. Every time you thought, "He blew it," God whispered, "Watch me redeem it." Every broken plan becomes a setup for greater purpose. What looked like rejection is actually redirection. What seemed like silence is preparation. Chosen one, when you thought you failed, you didn't realize you were making God smile. He saw your persistence in despair and said, "This one is mine." Your endurance was worship. Your tears became melody. And your return to hope after everything became the sweetest sound in heaven's choir. There's a beauty in the moment. You decide not to give up. It's quiet, unseen. Yet all of heaven takes notice. The enemy wanted to drown you in shame, to make you believe that failure disqualified you. But failure has never been your finish line. It's always been your meeting point with grace. The laughter of heaven is proof that you are still in divine alignment, even when your plans collapse. Remember Peter, the one who denied Jesus 3 times. The world would have labeled him unworthy, but God saw beyond the denial. He saw a preacher in the making. And as that new morning rises, let this truth settle into your heart. Your failure was never final. It was formative. You are being shaped, refined, and prepared. What once embarrassed you will soon empower you. What once made you cry will soon make you testify. Now, pause. Feel this moment. Heaven is still rejoicing over your decision to keep believing. That sound, the laughter of God, is your confirmation that your night has ended. When Peter wept bitterly, heaven wasn't disgusted. It waited patiently for the morning when joy would rise again. The same is true for you. You are not defined by your darkest night. You are defined by the dawn that follows. And what a powerful dawn it will be, because the same God who laughs over you also restores you. Every time you thought, "He blew it," God whispered, "Watch me redeem it." Every broken plan becomes a setup for greater purpose. And as you read this, I invite you to leave a declaration in the comments. Just write, "I rise again." Because that short phrase is not just text, it's prophecy. It means you agree with heaven's laughter. It means you reject shame and embrace restoration. It means you believe morning has come for your spirit. And when you write it, something in the unseen begins to shift. Grace rushes to meet your faith, and laughter returns to your heart. Sometimes it's the soft sound of God smiling in secret. It is the tender joy of a father watching his child persist in faith when the world calls it foolish. You, in your private devotion, have unknowingly brought delight to the heart of God. Every time you chose to keep believing instead of breaking, you made heaven rejoice. People may think that only grand gestures catch heaven's attention, great sermons, public acts of service, miracles. But God values something far greater: sincerity. Your hidden worship means more to Him than public displays of religion. The moments you've whispered, I still trust you. When everything hurt are the moments that echo most loudly in eternity. You have made heaven laugh in the quietest corners of your life. Every time you stood before your reflection and said, I can do this, even when your voice shook. You reflected the courage of heaven. Every time you forgave without apology, you mirrored the mercy of God. Every time you smiled at your own scars, you revealed the joy of resurrection living inside you. As the words of Jesus remind us in the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 6, your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. It is in the secret place that divine laughter is born. God watches the small moments that no one else notices, the coffee table prayers, the handwritten notes of encouragement, the quiet tears before dawn, and he calls them beautiful. While others see smallness, heaven sees faith. While others see insignificance, God sees intimacy. You may think that your hidden obedience doesn't matter, but it's shaping eternity. Heaven celebrates not only the miracle of answered prayer, but also the faith that keeps praying. You have built altars in silence, places where only God has heard your cry. And at those altars, his laughter of joy rises, wrapping around your weariness like sunlight breaking through a storm. The Father laughs because he knows what you don't yet see, that your hidden seasons are building strength for your visible ones. Every unnoticed act of kindness becomes a thread in the tapestry of his greater plan. Every time you choose goodness when bitterness seems easier, you are writing the kind of story that angels read with awe. Holy laughter blooms where trust is tested. It grows in the soil of surrender. It fills the space between your why and God's because I love you. The divine sense of humor is found in how he takes your smallest yes and turns it into a wave of transformation that touches lives you may never meet. When you think no one notices your faithfulness, remember this: heaven watches closely. God's laughter over you is his way of saying, I see you. Not one prayer, not one act of compassion, not one sigh of surrender has gone unnoticed. He's been keeping record, not of your failures, but of your perseverance. You've spent nights wondering if it's all worth it. You've questioned if your sacrifices matter, but each time you decided to love again, forgive again, try again, your faith released ripples into eternity. Those ripples became songs, and those songs turned into the laughter of God, a celebration that you didn't quit when quitting looked reasonable. Beloved chosen one, the holiest laughter often comes when you least expect it. It arrives in the stillness after prayer, in the peace that floods your chest when you've cried yourself empty. It's the laughter of realization that even in hidden places, you are seen and loved, that your secret obedience is public joy in heaven, that your silent resilience is symphony enough for God. You've been entertaining heaven without even knowing it. Every humble choice, every quiet amen, every whisper of gratitude has become music before the throne. God's joy in you is not based on performance. It is drawn from your persistence. So, continue to live faithfully in the unseen. Continue to love quietly, to forgive quickly, to trust deeply. For every hidden act of faith becomes laughter in the heart of God. And one day, when the veil is lifted and the divine mysteries are revealed, you will see how every unnoticed moment built an eternal smile across heaven's face. Chosen one, have you ever realized that your laughter is a weapon? It's not just a sound, it's a spiritual signal. a banner raised high in the middle of battle. Every time you choose to laugh when life tries to silence you, something in the unseen realm trembles. Darkness doesn't know what to do with a joyful believer. It expects fear, complaint, bitterness, but you answer with laughter, and that laughter becomes a roar of light. Laughter is not weakness, it is warfare. It is heaven's language disguised as joy. When you laugh in the face of loss, you're telling the enemy, "You hit me, but you didn't win." When you smile through pain, your very expression becomes a prophecy that declares, "God's not done." Heaven knows this. That's why joy is such a sacred force. Think of laughter like armor. It covers the heart with hope. It is both shield and sword. A shield, because it guards you from despair. A sword, because it slices through lies, whispering that you've been abandoned. Every laugh born from faith pierces through the fog of fear. It reminds you, and every spirit watching, that joy belongs to the righteous, no matter the circumstance. The scriptures remind us in the ancient words of Nehemiah, chapter 8, verse 10, "The joy of the Lord is your strength." Your laughter, then, is not mere reaction, it's revelation. It reveals that your strength doesn't come from circumstance, but from presence. The Lord's joy in you becomes the very energy that lifts you when you should have fallen. It's divine electricity flowing through your weary bones, saying, "Get up again. Child, you are not done yet." Imagine the battlefield of life as a vast field after a storm. The ground is muddy, the trees bent, the air heavy. Yet there you are, walking barefoot through it, laughing softly because you see sunlight breaking through the clouds. That's what faith looks like from heaven's view. Your laughter tells God, "I see your light even in this mess." It's a sacred language that only the faithful can speak. When you choose laughter instead of bitterness, heaven amplifies your sound. Angels move at the vibration of your joy. It confuses darkness because joy and pain aren't supposed to coexist, and yet, here you are, carrying both and still shining. You are proof that the Spirit of God lives in you. But, chosen one, let this truth sink deep. Your laughter also strengthens others. Someone right now is watching how you walk through your trial. They may never tell you, but your quiet joy has given them courage to keep going. You are teaching others that hope can breathe even in broken places. Your laughter becomes their medicine, too. That's why heaven calls you a torch bearer. When you laugh, your torch blazes brighter, lighting paths for those lost in shadow. And when you share your story, when you allow your laughter, your testimony, your lessons to reach others, you multiply light. Now pause for a moment and imagine this: a candle lit in the dark, passed from one hand to another until the whole room glows. That's what happens every time you share truth that touched you. Your light touches another, and another, and soon, the darkness doesn't stand a chance. So, if this message stirs something in you, if you feel that small spark reigniting inside, don't let it fade. Pass it forward, like that candle. Let the flame move, because that's your way of saying, "I'm still holding the torch." Share, because someone else needs warmth tonight. Subscribe, not out of habit, but as a way to stay connected to a stream of encouragement that keeps your spirit alive. And if your heart feels moved to donate, See it not as payment, but as planting a seed of light that helps the message keep traveling to those sitting in the dark. You are part of something divine, something larger than yourself, a network of chosen ones spreading laughter that heals and restores. Each act of support is another ripple of joy that reaches hearts you may never meet. Beloved, heaven's laughter echoes through your life. Every time you choose to lift your chin, every time you laugh through tears, God's delight amplifies across eternity. The Lord doesn't just laugh with you, He laughs through you. You are His echo of joy on earth. So, let that joy become your anthem. Let laughter be your language of faith. Stand firm, even when the battle rages, and let the sound of your joy remind every dark force that the light still reigns. Because the joy of the Lord truly is your strength, and every laugh you release shakes the kingdom of darkness a little more. Chosen one. Heaven remembers the smallest moments, the ones you forgot, the ones you thought didn't matter. A simple word you spoke in kindness, a prayer whispered for a stranger, a smile given to someone who had none left to give. You thought it was small, but in that instant, heaven erupted in applause. You made the throne room rejoice without even knowing it. The world measures greatness by noise, but heaven measures it by heart. You have done things that never made the headlines of earth, but they are carved into the archives of eternity. When you held the door open for someone who looked invisible, God saw it. When you forgave someone who never apologized, He saw that too. When you chose compassion over pride, mercy over revenge, you didn't just touch a human life, you moved the heart of God. It's easy to overlook the quiet victories, isn't it? The moments when you bite your tongue instead of lashing out, the times you give your last bit of strength for someone else. Those moments don't come with medals or applause, but they send ripples through heaven. The angels dance when you love like that, because every act of kindness, no matter how small, mirrors the character of God Himself. The ancient record in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15, verse 10 declares, "There is rejoicing in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents." Can you imagine that? Chosen one, the entire atmosphere of heaven shifting because of a single act of grace on earth. That is how much your love matters. You may think your life is quiet, but heaven sees it as thunderous with meaning. When you chose to love again after being betrayed, you didn't just heal, you created joy in heaven. When you showed mercy to someone who hurt you, angels sang. When you decided to pray for the one who wounded you, your voice became the music of heaven. That's how powerful your compassion is. You carry within you the ability to make eternity sing. There's a ripple effect every time you choose light over darkness. Your kindness travels further than you realize. Like a pebble dropped into still water, your actions expand outward, touching lives you'll never meet. The hug you gave to one person may have become the reason they didn't give up that night. The word of encouragement you spoke might have been the answer to a silent prayer. You are part of divine mathematics, where one small gesture multiplies infinitely in grace. The world might never applaud you for it, but God does. His laughter over you grows louder every time you choose love, when it would be easier to turn cold. Every time you pick compassion over convenience, He smiles and says, "That one looks like me." You are, in a very real sense, a walking sanctuary. Wherever you go, heaven follows. Every act of kindness becomes incense in God's temple, rising before His throne. And when you do good without seeking reward, you become proof that love still exists in a tired world. But, chosen one, this is what makes your kindness divine. It doesn't depend on the recipient's response. Sometimes the people you help will not thank you. Sometimes they will misunderstand your motives. Still, heaven keeps record. Still, the Father laughs in delight, because he knows you are not acting for applause, you are acting from love. Every time you sow kindness, you are planting seeds in eternal soil. They may not bloom immediately, but they will never die. You will see their fruit one day, some in this life, and the rest, when time itself folds back and eternity reveals every unseen act of love. So keep sowing, keep loving, keep being light in a world that sometimes forgets how to shine. Heaven's celebration is not reserved for the perfect, it is for the faithful. You have made heaven rejoice, and you will do so again. Now, as a prophetic act, I want you to mark this moment. Let it be your way of saying, I choose to keep spreading light. Type 555 inches the comments below, because 555 represents divine grace in motion, triple favor, triple renewal, triple blessing. It symbolizes the continuation of what God has already begun in you. By writing it, you declare that your kindness will not stop, that your heart will continue to be a vessel of heaven's joy on earth. So, chosen one, keep shining, keep laughing, keep loving. The day you stop underestimating your light is the day darkness loses its confidence forever. Heaven is rejoicing right now, because you are still choosing goodness. Chosen one, do you remember the time you stood back up after breaking down? The moment your knees trembled but still found the strength to rise? Heaven remembers. In fact, heaven laughed, not because of your pain, but because of your courage. You see, the sound of courage in the middle of collapse is sacred to God. It's the sound of faith refusing to die. When you stood up, shaking, tired, barely breathing, the angels stood with you. Heaven's celebration is not reserved for the perfect, it is for the faithful. You have made heaven rejoice, and you will do so again. Now, as a prophetic act, I want you to mark this moment. Let it be your way of saying, I choose to keep spreading light. Type 555 inches the comments below, because 555 represents divine grace in motion, triple favor, triple renewal, triple blessing. It symbolizes the continuation of what God has already begun in you. When you wiped your tears and whispered, I'll try again, the heavens responded with laughter, a laughter of triumph. God laughed because the enemy's plan had just failed again. Every time you rise, no matter how small the rise, you break a chain that once tried to bind you. You have lived through nights that would have broken lesser souls. You've faced rejection that could have hardened your heart. Yet you still chose tenderness. You've endured storms that shouted, quit. But you whispered back, I'll keep walking. That whisper was enough to shake the spiritual realm. The Lord's laughter over you is his way of saying, my strength is made perfect in your weakness. We read in the ancient songs of David, the book of Psalms, chapter 37, verse 24, though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholds him with his hand. Do you see it? Chosen one, the holy humor of grace. You fall, yet you do not stay fallen. You stumble, yet somehow you are caught before you break. You cry, yet you find joy again. It's as if God's hand is always just beneath you, turning every collapse into choreography. Your story is not one of failure, it's one of divine balance. When you stood again after that heartbreak, heaven saw more than recovery, it saw revelation. You discovered that you were never walking alone. You realized that broken does not mean useless, and tired does not mean done. You found out that you can still move, still breathe, still love. And that realization, the moment when hope flickered back on that, is when God laughed with delight. His laughter was not distant thunder, but the warm, living sound of pride. Like a parent watching their child take a first step after a fall. That's how heaven views your courage. Every time you push forward after failure, every time you open your heart again after disappointment, heaven applauds. You may not feel heroic, but you are. Heroes are not those who never fall, they are those who keep getting up. Every scar on your heart is proof that grace held you. Every lesson learned through pain is wisdom written in fire. And every time you rise again, you become a living testimony that God's love outlasts every defeat. The divine laughter of God is not mockery, it's marvel. He marvels that you still love after being hurt, that you still hope after disappointment, that you still stand when you could have stayed down. His joy over your endurance is deep, pure, unending. There's a sacred rhythm to your life. Chosen one. Fall. Rise. Fall. Rise each time. Stronger. Wiser. Softer. Brighter. The pattern of your pain and healing forms the heartbeat of heaven's joy. When you rise again, the universe learns that love is still greater than loss. You carry the proof of redemption in your very posture. Think of a tree after a storm. Its branches are torn, leaves scattered, roots shaken. But if the roots hold, the tree stands taller. Once the sun returns, that's you. The storms have come, but your roots are deep in grace. You may sway, but you never snap. You may bend, but you never break. God's laughter fills the sky every time you straighten your spine and face the wind again. And what's most beautiful is that your courage inspires others without you even knowing. Someone watching your quiet strength found the will to try again because of you. Your resilience has become permission for others to hope. That is holy work. The world often celebrates loud victories, big wins, flashy successes, but heaven honors the quiet comeback, the moment no one sees. When you decide not to quit, is the moment that rewrites destinies. It's sacred. That instant when the fire inside you whispers, "One more time, So, if you find yourself standing again after another fall, know this: heaven is laughing, not at your pain, but with profound joy at your faith. God's laughter is the sound of destiny being restored. It's the sound of mercy outrunning mistake. It's the sound of love proving itself stronger again. And though the world may not hear it, the heavens are echoing your name with delight, the one who stood again, the one who would not quit, the one who made God laugh through courage, chosen one. Sometimes you wonder if God could ever find delight in someone like you, flawed, uncertain, messy. But hear this truth: you are not a disappointment to heaven. You are its living poetry, its wild masterpiece, its divine paradox. You are the unexpected joy that grace brings forth again and again. God laughs, not at your weakness, but at the sheer beauty of what He has made in you, a creation capable of both breaking and believing. There's a sacred humor in how God weaves your life. You stumble through your own plans, try to predict what's next, and still end up in divine appointments you never saw coming. It's as though heaven watches your journey with a smile, knowing that somehow every detour will still lead to destiny. You trip, you fall, you reroute, and yet grace turns every wrong turn into a revelation. That's what makes you so beloved, chosen one. You are both the question and the answer, the prayer and the fulfillment. God delights in your contradictions because they prove how deeply He can dwell in humanity. Your laughter after heartbreak, your kindness after rejection, your faith after failure. These things confuse the logic of the world, but they make perfect sense to heaven. There's a mystery in divine laughter. It isn't careless, it's creative. It builds worlds. It sustains stars. And within that laughter, you exist as God's favorite surprise, a living testament that mercy never grows old. When you smile again after sorrow, you preach the greatest sermon heaven has ever written, as recorded in the ancient book of Job, chapter 8, verse 21. He will yet fill your mouth with laughter and your lips with shouts of joy. Do you feel the weight of that promise? He will yet. Those three words carry the power of restoration. They mean that no matter how empty your heart feels now, laughter is not done with you. It is written into your future like sunrise after the longest night. God's laughter over you is not nostalgia, it's prophecy. You, child of wonder, are the living punchline of grace. Not a joke in the cruel sense, but the joyous conclusion to a divine mystery, that something as broken and limited as a human heart can still carry infinite love. You are God's reminder to the universe that mercy still surprises. Creation itself is a divine comedy of redemption. The stars burn in rhythm with grace, the seas echo God's laughter, and you made from dust and divinity are part of that cosmic joy. Every time you love again, every time you trust again, every time you choose to hope when logic says, don't, you make the author of existence laugh in pure delight. Heaven laughs not because you are perfect, but because you are real. You bring truth into your worship, raw and trembling. You come not pretending to have it all together, but offering your authentic self. And that, beloved, is what moves God most. Even your quirks, your odd humor, your way of overthinking, your habit of talking to yourself when anxious, He sees it all with tenderness. You may cringe at your own humanity, but He smiles, because even in your awkwardness, He finds beauty. You are not an accident, you are art, a living mosaic of both laughter and lament. You have this childlike wonder that never truly died, even after all the pain. That's what makes you heaven's favorite surprise. You still find awe in small things, the shape of clouds, the warmth of sunlight, the sudden quiet of peace. The world may rush past, but you stop to notice, to breathe, to smile. That simple noticing is worship. The divine sense of humor is reflected in you every day. It's in how you still manage to believe that good things can come again. It's in how you look at chaos and somehow whisper, there's still hope. It's in how you see through brokenness and still find beauty. The Father looks at you and sees the proof that redemption works. You were not designed to impress heaven, you were designed to delight it. God's laughter is the sound of his heart, rejoicing over the fact that his creation, you still carries his light through imperfection. And though the world may misunderstand your softness as weakness, heaven knows it as strength. For only the strong can remain tender after trauma. Only the brave can still laugh after loss. So live as the divine paradox you are. Walk through the world with wonder. And let laughter be your worship. You are the child who reminds heaven that love still wins, that mercy still reigns, that the story of grace never runs out of joy. Chosen one, do you know how much power there is in a single smile? The enemy does. That's why he's tried so hard to steal it from you. He's sent storms to drown it, lies to poison it, and disappointments to bury it. But even when your laughter faded, the ember of joy inside you never went out. Heaven protected that spark because it knew one day your laughter would roar again, and when it did, it would shatter darkness itself. You have faced nights when joy felt impossible, when even hope seemed like a luxury. You sat in silence while your soul screamed for peace. You thought God had forgotten, but he hadn't. He was guarding the laughter that the enemy could not reach. There is a kind of joy the world can't give, and therefore the world can't take away. That joy belongs to you. You are living proof that light always finds its way back. You've walked through valleys that tried to convince you laughter was gone forever. Yet here you are, breathing, still capable of smiling. That smile is not weakness, it's warfare. When you grin through grief, you're reminding hell that you still belong to heaven. In the Gospel, according to John, chapter 10, verse 10, it is written, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come to give life." That's why the enemy hates your joy so much, because it proves that his theft failed. Every time you laugh, you testify that abundance still lives inside you. Every time you find beauty in pain, you reveal the life Jesus promised. Your laughter is living theology, a sermon preached by your resilience. Darkness can handle tears. It expects those, but what it cannot comprehend is laughter that rises out of tears. That's the sound of a redeemed soul. That's the anthem of a chosen heart. The world may not understand this kind of laughter. It is not the laughter of those who mock or boast. It is the laughter of resurrection. Every time you rise from something meant to bury you, heaven laughs. Not a laughter of amusement, but of victory. Because darkness bet on your destruction, and it lost again. And when you laugh, heaven joins you. God's laughter intertwines with yours like harmony in a song. You laugh for the same reason. He laughs because you know darkness doesn't get the final word. That's why you must never underestimate your joy. Every grin, every giggle, every soft chuckle at the absurdity of your story, it all carries holy power. You are breaking curses with every moment of joy you allow yourself to feel. You've reached the season where your laughter will no longer be stolen. Remember that night when you cried until your eyes burned. You thought you were breaking, but heaven was watching closely, waiting for the moment your tears turned to release. Then, when you finally exhaled, when the sob became a soft laugh because you realized you were still standing, that's when the throne room erupted. Angels smiled. God laughed, because hope had survived again. You've been a battlefield. Chosen one. And laughter is your victory song. You will laugh freely again, not because everything is perfect, but because your heart is healed enough to find beauty in imperfection. The same mouth that once cried out of pain will now declare peace. The same eyes that once wept will sparkle again. The enemy thought your silence was victory, but your next laugh will prove otherwise. Your joy is coming back full circle, stronger than before, untouched by fear. And this time, it will not be stolen again. Now, take a moment and breathe in this truth. Heaven's laughter lives inside you. It doesn't wait for the storm to pass it, dances in the rain. That is your inheritance as a chosen one, joy that endures, laughter that heals, faith that refuses to fade. And as an act of declaration, I want you to write these 3 simple words in the comments. Joy wins again. No, because when you write that, you are not just typing a phrase, you are releasing prophecy. You're saying that no matter what the past tried to take, your joy has returned. You're saying that you refuse to live in bitterness. You're saying that God's laughter and your laughter are now one song, echoing louder than your sorrow ever did. Let the world and the heavens bear witness. Joy has won again. Chosen one. Listen closely. The sound you hear rising in your spirit right now is not memory, not imagination. It is the laughter of God over your life. It doesn't thunder or shout. It comes like wind through branches, like a soft song through a window, half open to morning. It is the sound of heaven saying, I still delight in you. Oh, you may think God laughs only in triumph, but he also laughs in tenderness. He laughs over you, not because you have everything figured out, but because he sees how far you've come. He sees how you keep showing up, even weary, how you reach for light, even when shadows whisper your name. His laughter is the language of love that says, you are still mine. You have felt his tears in your sorrow. But today, feel his laughter in your healing. It wraps around you like a warm blanket after a long storm. It doesn't erase what happened, it transforms it. The sound of his joy washes over every memory that once hurt. The same places that held pain will now become altars of laughter. We are reminded through the songs of David in the Psalms. Chapter 18, verse 19. He brought me out into a spacious place. He rescued me because he delighted in me. Think about that. Because he delighted in you. Not because you earned it. Not because you were flawless, but because he delights simply in your being. The laughter of God is not conditional, it is covenantal. It is the proof that love is stronger than failure, stronger than fear. You are like a tree that survived winter, branches scarred, roots deep, yet standing tall. God looks at you and smiles because he sees the spring budding again where others saw only decay. His laughter is the sunlight coaxing your spirit back to bloom. Every giggle of grace, every ripple of hope in your chest is heaven saying, look, life is returning. Sometimes divine joy sounds like wind chimes in the ruins. You walk among memories of what fell apart, and yet something beautiful hums inside you. That's God, laughing, restoring, whispering. Say, even here, I can make beauty. Your scars are not symbols of defeat, they are the fingerprints of resurrection. Heaven laughs because what once buried you became the soil for your rebirth. The sound of that laughter fills the heavens each time you tell your story without shame. Each time you forgive what still stings. Each time, you lift your eyes again. And, chosen one. This is where the metaphor deepens. Your life is a lighthouse built from broken glass. Every crack that once cut you now refracts divine light. Each story, each tear, each lesson together, they scatter brightness into dark waters for others to find their way. That is why your testimony matters. That is why the laughter of God keeps echoing through you. When you let others hear your joy, when you share how God rebuilt you, you become a bridge across someone else's storm. That is sacred work. And as you hold this message in your hands, I ask you, let's keep building those bridges. If this message has touched your heart, if it has reminded you that you are still God's delight, then let your response become part of the light. Like this message, not out of habit, but as a way of saying, I hear you, Lord. Share it so that someone wandering in silence might hear laughter again. Subscribe to stay connected to this stream of renewal. This ongoing conversation between heaven and earth, where your faith can breathe freely. And if your heart feels moved to donate, think of it not as giving away, but as planting a seed of faith. A small gesture that allows this message of light to reach someone sitting in a storm you once knew. Every seed sown keeps the beacon burning. Every gift says, let the laughter of heaven reach one more heart. Your kindness fuels the voice that reminds others they're not forgotten. Together, we become a garden of joy, where even broken soil blooms with grace. You're not just supporting words, you're supporting restoration. Chosen one. As you move forward from this moment, let the sound of his laughter stay with you. Let it be your rhythm when you walk, your melody when you breathe. Remember that heaven's joy is not a faraway song, it's inside you now. You are the reason God's laughter still fills the heavens. Every breath you take is proof that delight still wins, that mercy still dances, that grace still has something to say. So, lift your head, walk in peace, and let your life keep echoing that divine sound, the laughter of God, rolling like sunlight across eternity. Chosen one. There are storms that arrive without warning. They tear through your peace, scatter your plans, and leave your heart standing in the rain, shivering and unsure. You've known those storms, the sudden losses, the unexpected endings, the nights when you could barely breathe under the weight of worry, and yet, somehow, even in those storms, something sacred has survived in you. The ability to smile. That smile, small and trembling as it may be, is one of heaven's greatest wonders. It is a declaration written not in words but in light. When you smile through the storm, you are not denying the pain, you are defying it. You are saying, this is not the end of me. Heaven watches that moment with awe because your faith, though fragile, glows like a lantern in the dark. There is something holy about a person who can still smile after walking through fire. It's not naivety, it's revelation. You've seen too much to pretend everything is easy. But you've also seen enough of God to know everything is possible. Your smile doesn't come from ignorance, it comes from endurance. It is the mark of someone who has learned that peace is not found in the absence of storms, but in the presence of the one who stills them. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 2, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And that promise has followed you through every flood. When the waves tried to drown you, grace became your breath. When the fire tried to consume you, Mercy stood between you and the flames. Even when you thought you were alone, heaven was right beside you, silent perhaps, but never absent. The storms were never sent to destroy you. They were sent to reveal you. They stripped away what could not stay so that what is eternal could emerge. Every gust of wind tested your roots. And each time, you found yourself still standing, still grounded, still holding on to faith. You may have bent, but you did not break. You have discovered the quiet strength of peace, the kind that doesn't shout or demand attention. It's the peace that hums like a song deep in your bones, reminding you that God is near, even when you can't feel Him. That peace is what gives birth to your smile. It's what makes you radiant, even in the storm's shadow. Sometimes, people misunderstand that smile. They think it means the pain is gone. But you know better. The pain might still be there, but so is purpose. The tears may not have dried, but so has the promise not faded. The storm might rage, but so does your spirit. You have learned to live with both thunder and sunlight inside you. Smiling through the storm doesn't mean you're pretending everything's fine. It means you've decided that faith will have the final word. It means you refuse to let sorrow dictate your story. When you smile through suffering, you are crowning God as Lord, even over your chaos. You are saying, I still trust you. And that simple act turns battlefields into sanctuaries. Heaven treasures those moments more than you know. The angels don't just celebrate victories, they marvel at persistence. They watch how you rise again after every fall, how you find laughter in the ashes, how you keep believing that goodness will find you again. To them, you are living proof of divine resilience. There will always be storms, chosen one, but there will also always be light. You carry it inside you, and because of that, no storm can ever fully claim you. You are too anchored, too loved, too chosen. Your smile is not the denial of pain, it's the announcement of survival. So when the winds howl again, remember what they cannot do. They cannot uproot what God has planted. They cannot drown what grace has anointed. They cannot silence what heaven has already declared over you. The next time you find yourself in the rain, lift your face toward heaven and let the drops mix with your tears. Then smile not because it's easy, but because it's eternal. That smile is your weapon, your worship, your witness. It is the light that says, the storm may roar, but my heart is anchored. And in that moment, the laughter of God returns once more soft, proud, eternal, because even through the storm, His chosen one still shines. Chosen one. Do you know why God delights in you so deeply? It's not because you always get everything right. It's because even when everything goes wrong, you still choose love. The world has taught many to grow hard when they're hurt, to armor their hearts, to build walls instead of bridges. But you, despite the pain, despite betrayal, despite exhaustion, still open your heart again. That choice, quiet and unseen, makes heaven zing. God's joy in you is not rooted in perfection. It's anchored in love that refuses to die. He watches how you forgive when it costs you pride, how you show kindness when no one returns it, how you keep your hands clean when the world tempts you to retaliate. You are heaven's contradiction, merciful in a merciless age. And every time you love when it makes no sense, heaven laughs with holy delight, saying, there's my reflection in human form. End of teen. That is the secret behind God's joy in you. It's not what you build, achieve, or prove. It's the posture of your heart when you choose compassion over control, tenderness over toughness. The universe shifts slightly every time you choose to love instead of lash out. You make heaven's rhythm continue. In the Apostles' timeless letter to the Corinthians, chapter 13, verse 7, we are reminded, love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. All, that is you, chosen one. You bear burdens quietly, yet faithfully. You believe when evidence disappears. You hope when every reason to hope has crumbled. You endure what would have destroyed others, and you do it with love still burning inside you. God laughs with joy because love, His greatest creation, is still alive in you. That's what the enemy cannot stand, because every time you choose love, you defeat him without a single word. He operates in bitterness, but you operate in grace. He plants offense, but you plant forgiveness. He whispers, protect yourself, and you answer, I'll trust again. That response disarms him completely. You've probably wondered sometimes if it's worth it to keep being kind in a cruel world, to keep offering your heart when it's been mishandled before. But God sees. He counts every tear that fell because you loved sincerely. He keeps record not of how many times you were wronged, but of how many times you chose to stay gentle. Heaven calls that bravery. Love, real love, is costly. It demands vulnerability, patience, humility. It asks you to walk through life with open hands instead of clenched fists. It asks you to see others through God's eyes, not your wounds. And that is exactly what you've been learning to do. You have discovered that love is not a feeling, it's a decision. It's the quiet strength to keep believing that light can still win. It's the courage to see goodness where others see hopelessness. And every time you make that choice, you join heaven's laughter. Because love, no matter how fragile it seems, never loses. The world thinks laughter and love are luxuries, but they are survival. They are sacred weapons forged in mercy. And when you love, even when it hurts, you are wielding light against darkness. You are continuing the work of redemption with every breath. So, don't be ashamed of your soft heart. Don't wish it harder. Softness is not weakness. It is evidence of divine strength. To remain tender after trauma, to love again after loss, is the truest sign that the Spirit of God lives within you. Heaven doesn't celebrate perfection, it celebrates persistence. The laughter of God rings through eternity every time you love one more day. Forgive one more time. Smile. One more moment in faith. You are the melody that keeps grace dancing through time. And now, as an act of agreement with heaven, I invite you to mark this moment with a declaration. Write the number 888 inches, the comments below, because 888 symbolizes new beginnings and divine renewal. It represents resurrection life that returns even after death, joy that blooms even after drought. By writing it, you're saying, my love will not run dry. My heart will keep reflecting heaven. You are aligning yourself with the endless cycle of grace, falling, rising, loving again. Let that number be your prayer without words. A code between you and heaven that says, I still choose love. Oh, Because every time you choose love, you make God laugh again, softly, joyfully, eternally. And in that laughter, all the pain you've carried finds its healing. The wounds you thought would define you begin to close, and from them rises something new, a heart stronger, kinder, freer than before. Chosen one. Love on, even when it hurts, even when it costs. Because the secret behind God's joy is this: He has chosen to love you endlessly, and He rejoices every time you mirror that love back into the world. Chosen one. Heaven moves in rhythm, and whether you realize it or not, you are part of that rhythm. There's a song that plays between heaven and earth, a melody of grace and laughter, of sorrow transformed into dance. Every time your heart beats with faith, it joins that divine music. Every time you let joy lead you forward instead of fear, you are dancing with the divine. You see, this life of yours was never meant to be a march of exhaustion. It was meant to be a dance of surrender. The steps may not always make sense. You may stumble, lose balance, forget the rhythm, but still, God's hand never lets yours go. He is the unseen partner, guiding you through the music of purpose. And even when you step on your own feet, heaven still laughs. Not in mockery, but in affection, whispering, "Look at my child, still learning, still moving, still trusting." Faith is not about getting every step right. It's about trusting the music even when you don't understand it. And God's laughter over you is the applause that keeps you moving through the missteps. The divine dance continues, not because you're perfect, but because you're willing to stay in motion. There's a kind of beauty that only emerges when you let go of control. The Spirit leads, and you follow, sometimes spinning, sometimes pausing, sometimes simply swaying in stillness. Each motion becomes an act of worship. Each breath becomes a beat in heaven's song. We find confirmation of this rhythm in the sacred songs of David. The book of Psalms, chapter 30, verse 11. You turned my mourning into dancing. You removed my sackcloth and clothed me with joy. That verse isn't just poetry, it's prophecy. It speaks of a transformation that begins deep within your spirit. God doesn't simply remove sorrow, He teaches you how to move with it, how to turn grief into grace, pain into movement, despair into devotion. You, beloved, have been learning this sacred choreography all along. Remember those seasons when life felt like chaos, when nothing made sense, when you questioned your purpose, when you wondered if you'd ever feel whole again. It was then that heaven began teaching you new steps. Through disappointment, you learned endurance. Through loss, you learned compassion. Through waiting, you learned rhythm. God wasn't punishing you. He was teaching you how to dance on uneven ground. Every time you lifted your head, when it felt easier to bow, you took another step in that dance. Every time you forgave, you twirled closer to light. Every time you laughed again after crying, you matched the tempo of heaven. That's the secret. Joy is not the absence of pain, it's the decision to move anyway. And when you move, heaven moves with you. There's laughter in the throne room every time you refuse to sit in despair. Angels sway in time with your courage. The divine orchestra plays louder every time you take another step forward. You are not just living, you are part of creation's ongoing symphony. Dancing with the divine is not always graceful. Sometimes it looks like survival. Sometimes it's a clumsy shuffle between hope and heartbreak, but even then, your obedience, your willingness to keep moving, becomes art. God delights in your effort. He doesn't demand perfection, He celebrates participation. Your life may not look like the choreography you planned, but that's because grace always improvises. It turns the broken steps into beauty. It makes mistakes part of the masterpiece. The places you once stumbled have become testimonies now. The rhythm you once feared has become the beat that sustains you. And maybe that's what it truly means to be chosen, not to glide through life untouched, but to dance even with scars on your feet, to let the music of heaven drown out the noise of fear, to let joy, not judgment, lead your motion. You are a living reminder that faith is movement, not stagnation. Even your stillness is sacred when it's surrendered. Even your pauses carry purpose when your heart stays tuned to heaven's song. So keep dancing. Even when the tempo changes, keep moving when you can't see the next step. Trust that the one who began the music will never leave you dancing alone. We find confirmation of this rhythm in the sacred songs of David. The book of Psalms, chapter 30, verse 11. You turned my mourning into dancing. You removed my sackcloth and clothed me with joy. That verse isn't just poetry, it's prophecy. It speaks of a transformation that begins deep within your spirit. God doesn't simply remove sorrow, He teaches you how to move with it, how to turn grief into grace, pain into movement, despair into devotion. Chosen one. Joy is not a fleeting visitor in your life, it is a miracle that keeps finding its way home to you. There were seasons when you thought laughter would never return, when grief sat like a weight upon your chest, when even the thought of hope felt foreign. Yet here you are, standing in the quiet aftermath of all that loss, and something inside you is beginning to stir again. It is not the same laughter as before, it is deeper, wiser, sanctified by the tears that birthed it. This is the miracle of joy, restored. You have walked through valleys that could have silenced your spirit forever, but somehow your soul learned the language of resilience. The pain didn't destroy you, it remade you. It turned you into someone who can find beauty in brokenness and light in ruins. That is the secret the world often misses. True joy is not shallow happiness. It is the hard-won song that rises after sorrow. There was a time you feared you had lost your light completely. You went through the motions, smiled on the outside, but inside you felt hollow. You prayed but heard nothing, hoped but saw no sign. Yet, in those hidden moments, heaven was already moving, already preparing the return of your laughter. Restoration was quietly germinating beneath the surface. It was like winter cold, long, silent, but even in winter. The roots do not die. Beneath frozen ground, life waits. Heaven is smiling right now because of the way you move through the unknown, hesitant, maybe, but holy. Every motion says, I trust you, and that trust is the rhythm God loves most. So let your life keep swaying in the divine current. Let laughter be the music that guides your feet. And when you lose the rhythm, don't worry, God will guide you back to it. Gently, joyfully, laughing all the while, because, for Him, your every step, no matter how imperfect, is part of a song called Redemption. You thought you were weeping over endings, but heaven saw you planting beginnings. That is how God works. He turns sorrow into soil. When joy returns, it doesn't erase the pain, it redeems it. It takes what once broke you and turns it into wisdom, empathy, and strength. You begin to understand that even the most painful chapters were sacred classrooms. You see how every detour was divine direction. Every loss, a quiet lesson in love's endurance. The laughter that rises now carries gratitude within it. A melody that says, "I made it through." You are not the same person who began the journey. The pain carved deeper spaces in your heart, and those spaces have made room for greater joy. The river of laughter that flows from you now runs through valleys of remembrance. It knows where it has been. That's why it sounds richer. Why it carries the resonance of survival. The miracle of joy restored is not loud. It's luminous. It glows softly in your daily life, in the way you breathe easier, in the way you wake without dread, in the way you catch yourself smiling for no reason. It's the peace that no longer depends on circumstances. It's the awareness that God never left, that love never truly disappeared. And perhaps the greatest evidence of your healing is this: you can look back without bitterness. You can remember without reopening the wound. You can bless the people who hurt you and mean it. That is divine proof that your heart has been renewed. The laughter returning to you now is holy. It's not the loud, careless laughter of innocence. It's the sacred laughter of experience. It's laughter that has walked through fire and come out gold. It's the sound of someone who knows that grace really is enough. You will notice it happening in small ways. A scent that reminds you of better days suddenly makes you smile instead of ache. A song you couldn't bear to hear now fills you with warmth. A memory that once triggered tears now feels like sunlight. These are not coincidences. They are signals that joy has returned to dwell. Heaven has been waiting for this moment. The angels have watched the long night of your sorrow, and now they lean in to hear the sound of your laughter again. It is music to them, a testimony that love cannot be extinguished. Chosen one, you are living proof that God restores. Not just what was lost, but what you never thought you could feel again. You have been reborn into a peace that cannot be shaken. And from now on, your joy will not depend on what you have or what happens. It will flow from who you are, the one who was found, redeemed, and filled again with divine delight. Your laughter now is prophecy. It declares that the worst is over, that new things have come, and that the God who carried you through darkness has crowned you with dawn. Chosen one. Have you noticed how your laughter itself has become a message? You no longer need to preach with grand words or dramatic gestures. Your joy preaches for you. Every time you laugh, it declares, light still lives here. Your laughter is your ministry, your testimony, your living sermon. The world watches, often quietly, wondering how you still carry that peace. And without even realizing it, your smile becomes a doorway for heaven's hope to enter hearts. You might not stand behind a pulpit, but make no mistake, you are preaching. Every time you forgive what should be unforgivable, every time you smile when you could have stayed bitter, every time you offer kindness to those who misunderstood you, heaven uses you as a vessel. You are a moving parable, a story of redemption written in real time. Your laughter is a sermon that darkness cannot interrupt. The sacred text in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 16, reminds us, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify God." That light, that laughter, it's not meant to be hidden. The world is desperate for authenticity, for the kind of joy that isn't fake, for faith that feels real. And you, beloved, are living proof that faith can survive fire and still sing. You are a torch in an age of shadows. When you share your story, how you rose again, how laughter returned, how God met you in the ruins, you give others permission to hope. You show them that redemption is not theory, it's tangible. Every word you speak becomes an ember that lights another heart. That's how revival spreads, not always through crowds, but through connection, one soul at a time. Imagine your story as a lantern, glowing softly in the night. Now imagine passing that lantern to another, someone stumbling in darkness, someone who thinks God has forgotten them. When you share your light, they see the path again. That's why your voice matters. That's why what you carry must continue to flow outward. If this message touches something deep in you, let that light ripple further. Like this message, not for vanity, but as a simple way of saying, I carry the light. When you share, you extend a flame. It could land in a heart that's been waiting for warmth. When you subscribe, you stay connected to the flow of encouragement, to remind us that you're never walking alone. And if you feel stirred to donate, think of it not as giving away, but as planting seeds in someone else's garden. Every contribution, no matter the size, becomes part of the soil that helps more people find laughter again. You're not just funding words, you're fueling hope. You're ensuring that light travels beyond your reach, to places your voice alone cannot go. There's something sacred in that kind of giving. It's like adding oil to a lamp so the flame doesn't die. And in that quiet generosity, you join heaven's work. You see, chosen one, your laughter preaches louder than sermons ever could, because it's rooted in survival. It's joy that has wrestled with sorrow and still chosen to sing. It's truth clothed in tenderness. That's why people stop and listen, even if they don't understand why. Something in their spirit recognizes the sound of redemption. You are a living letter from God, written not on paper, but on the canvas of your scars. Every healed wound tells the same story. Grace wins. Every laugh says, I am still here. And so is God. You are the proof that light does not lose. So don't hide what God has done in you. Don't shrink your story because it feels small. Even the smallest spark can start a wildfire of faith. Someone out there is waiting to hear what you've overcome. Someone's future laughter depends on your courage to speak. And after you finish reading, if this message speaks to your spirit, leave a reflection in the comments below. Something simple, something honest. Share what resonated most. A single sentence from your own heart. Because sometimes, one sincere comment becomes the very word someone else needs to keep going. Heaven reads these responses too, not as numbers, but as worship. Each word of gratitude, each echo of testimony, is another note in the song of God's laughter across the earth. Chosen one, your story is sacred, your joy contagious, your laughter unstoppable. Keep letting it speak. Keep letting it teach. Keep letting it shine. Because every time you do, the world grows a little brighter, and heaven smiles a little wider. You are proof that faith can sound like laughter, that light can sound like love. So let your joy preach softly, sincerely, endlessly, until the whole world knows that God still delights in his children. Chosen one. Do you feel it, the quiet tension in the air before everything shifts? There is a stillness that often comes right before breakthrough, like the pause between heartbeats. You are standing in that sacred space now, where the silence hums with divine expectancy. Heaven is smiling, waiting, laughing softly in anticipation, because your next chapter is already unfolding, even if you can't see it yet. Every delay you've endured, every closed door, every unanswered prayer, they have all been part of this holy waiting. The world calls it stagnation, but heaven calls it preparation. The Father has been rearranging the pieces, aligning timing with purpose, shaping you into the vessel that can carry what comes next. Breakthrough is never random, it is always orchestrated. There's a mystery hidden in the waiting. It's where faith matures. You see, chosen one, your laughter preaches louder than sermons ever could, because it's rooted in survival. It's joy that has wrestled with sorrow and still chosen to sing. It's truth clothed in tenderness. That's why people stop and listen, even if they don't understand why. Something in their spirit recognizes the sound of redemption. You are a living letter from God, written not on paper, but on the canvas of your scars. Every healed wound tells the same story. Grace wins when he laughs. He's not mocking your uncertainty, he's celebrating what's about to be revealed. You can't see the whole picture yet, but he can, and it's glorious. The ancient writings of the Apostle Paul in the letter to the Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, declare, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap. That proper time is sacred. It may not match your calendar, but it's never late. God's laughter in this moment is a sign that the harvest is near. The same ground that once looked barren is about to bloom. The same season that felt endless is about to end in overflow. You've plowed with tears, planted with faith, and waited with endurance. Now heaven is preparing to pour joy into the places that once held emptiness. That proper time is sacred. It may not match your calendar, but it's never late. God's laughter in this moment is a sign that the harvest is near. The same ground that once looked barren is about to bloom. The same season that felt endless is about to end in overflow. You've plowed with tears, planted with faith, and waited with endurance. Now heaven is preparing to pour joy into the places that once held emptiness. Joy is the sound of your spirit aligning with eternity. Even before the miracle manifests, it is the soft laughter of someone who already trusts the outcome. And you, chosen one, have learned that laughter doesn't wait for certainty, it creates it. When you smile before the storm clears, you are declaring, God is already working. When you rejoice before the victory arrives, you are living in prophetic faith. That's why heaven responds with laughter. It mirrors yours. Think of it like the final note in a symphony. The instruments fall silent. The audience holds its breath. And in that pause lies power. The silence itself carries the weight of everything that came before it. Then, at just the right moment, the final chord bursts forth. Beautiful, triumphant, complete. That's what your breakthrough will sound like. The laughter of God is that last note, majestic, victorious, undeniable. You are on the brink of it now. The tests you faced weren't meant to break you. They were designed to build the strength needed to sustain the blessing. Heaven never prepares you for small victories. You've been shaped for something immense, something eternal. That's why the battle felt personal, because the reward will be to hold steady. Keep walking in grace, not haste. The laughter of God that surrounds you right now is not casual. It's confirmation. It says, "You're closer than you think." The final smile before the miracle is already shining over you. And soon you will understand why it took this long, why it hurt this much, and why it's worth every moment. Chosen one. The dawn is not coming, it's already breaking. You are standing in the thin veil between promise and fulfillment. Listen carefully. The laughter of God is rising. It is the sound of your story turning. Chosen one. Heaven has always remembered your name. From the moment you took your first breath, there was laughter in the halls of eternity, joy that could not be contained because another spark of divine light had entered the world. That light was you. And through every season since, through triumph and trial, laughter and lament, that same laughter has continued. Unbroken. You have made heaven laugh, not just once, but over and over again. Simply by existing as you are. There's something profoundly beautiful about that truth. God's laughter is not random, it is relational. He laughs because he knows the ending of your story while you are still walking through the middle of it. He sees how the chapters of struggle will close in glory, how the pieces of pain will fit together into a portrait of purpose. His laughter is not amusement, it is assurance. It is the sound of a father saying, "My child will make it." When he looks at you, he sees all the moments that made you who you are, the ones that nearly broke you, the ones that healed you, the ones that seemed meaningless but were actually the making of you. He smiles because he knows how every scar has become a doorway for light. The laughter of heaven is the melody of completion, God rejoicing over a story he knows will end in victory. When he looks at you, he also sees the moments no one else witnessed, the whispered prayers at midnight, the trembling forgiveness offered in silence, the dreams you buried yet still believed in. Those hidden acts of courage shine brighter than gold in his sight. Woven into the music of his laughter, he sees the future chapters, too, the victories you haven't walked into, the peace waiting beyond the next sunrise, the faces you'll bless without realizing it. Every unfulfilled promise already glows in his eyes. Heaven laughs softly, not from distance, but from delight in the masterpiece still unfolding within you. It is written in the sacred words of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 55, verse 12. You will go out in joy and be led forth in peace. The mountains and hills will burst into song before you. Then, that verse isn't a metaphor for someone else, it's a promise for you. You will go out in joy. You will walk in peace. The mountains of your obstacles and the hills of your hardship will sing, because even creation recognizes what heaven has always known. You are chosen, and your story carries the sound of divine laughter. There's a mystery to being loved this way. The world often teaches that God's love is conditional, that it fades when you fail. But heaven has been laughing through your failures, not because they pleased him, but because he already planned your redemption before you even fell. His laughter has always been the sound of love, refusing to let go. You have been the reason for many kinds of divine laughter. He laughed when you believed again after being disappointed. He laughed when you forgave someone no one else could. He laughed when you dared to dream again after everything collapsed. Each time, His joy swelled not at your perfection, but at your persistence. Heaven's laughter is the sound of recognition, the Creator delighting in the resilience He placed within you. Chosen one. Heaven has always remembered your name. From the moment you took your first breath, there was laughter in the halls of eternity, joy that could not be contained because another spark of divine light had entered the world. That light was you. And through every season since, through triumph and trial, laughter and lament, that same laughter has continued. Unbroken. You have made heaven laugh, not just once, but over and over again. Simply by existing as you are, the mountains of your obstacles and the hills of your hardship will sing, because even creation recognizes what heaven has always known. You are chosen, and your story carries the sound of divine laughter. There's a mystery to being loved this way. The world often teaches that God's love is conditional, that it fades when you fail. But heaven has been laughing through your failures, not because they pleased Him, but because He already planned your redemption before you even fell. You were never meant to mirror perfection. You were meant to mirror perseverance. You have done that. Over and over. There will be moments in the future when you'll look back on your journey and see how laughter was hidden in every chapter. You'll realize that even in the darkest seasons, something sacred was happening. The tears were watering seeds of joy. The silence was deepening your roots. The waiting was shaping your wings. When He looks at you, He also sees the moments no one else witnessed, the whispered prayers at midnight, the trembling forgiveness offered in silence, the dreams you buried yet still believed in. Those hidden acts of courage shine brighter than gold in His sight. Woven into the music of His laughter, He sees the future chapters, too, the victories you haven't walked into, the peace waiting beyond the next sunrise, the faces you'll bless without realizing it. When He looks at you, He also sees the moments no one else witnessed, the whispered prayers at midnight, the trembling forgiveness offered in silence, the dreams you buried yet still believed in. Those hidden acts of courage shine brighter than gold in His sight. Woven into the music of His laughter, He sees the future chapters, too, the victories you haven't walked into, the peace waiting beyond the next sunrise, the faces you'll bless without realizing it. And when you subscribe, you anchor yourself to this flow of divine encouragement, staying close to the voice that reminds you of who you are. I invite you to leave a reflection in the comments, just a few heartfelt words. Your echo in this sacred conversation. Every sincere comment becomes another candle in this gathering of chosen hearts. Another testimony that love still reigns. Your engagement is more than digital, it's spiritual. Each click, each word, each act of connection expands the reach of heaven's laughter. So take this small step now. Chosen one, let heaven see your light respond to its own. The joy that found you here is meant to keep flowing outward,